Have you ever wondered why the world's most powerful nation fears losing just one ally? It's not about military bases, not about trade deals, not even about technology. It's about something far deeper influence. Right now, there's a silent race going on. The U.S. knows that if India drifts away, the balance of global power tilts not slightly, but dramatically. So, the question isn't why America wants India, it's how far will it go to keep it. For a long time, America believed it could shape the destiny of nations through its unmatched power and influence. But something unexpected has been happening. The center of gravity is slowly shifting, and the rise of India is at the heart of that transformation. This isn't a sudden event. It's been building over years of silent determination, innovation, and resilience. India no longer plays a supporting role on the global stage, it's becoming a lead actor. Its economy is one of the fastest growing in the world, its population is young and driven, and its technology sector is competing head with giants. Every satellite launch, every digital breakthrough, every defense reform signals that India is not following, it's forging its own path. This rise has caught the attention of Washington. The U.S. knows that if India strengthens its independent identity and forges alliances beyond the West, it could shift the global balance of power away from American hands. It's no longer just about politics. It's about leadership in the world's most strategic region, Asia. For decades, the U.S. relied on its dominance to maintain order. Now, it's facing a reality where that order depends on another nation's choices. That's a powerful shift, one that makes America cautious and alert. The fear isn't that India might oppose the U.S., but that it might not need it. Once India becomes completely self-reliant in defense, economy, and global influence, America's leverage begins to fade. Losing India's alliance would mean losing the ability to shape Asia's future narrative, and that's something no superpower is ready to accept. The rise of India is not just a story of growth, it's a story of transformation that challenges the very definition of global power. India holds a position that very few nations in history have ever achieved. It stands at the intersection of two worlds. On one side lies the technological, industrial, and military power of the West. On the other, the deep cultural, economic, and demographic strength of the East. This dual identity gives India an unmatched advantage and a rare kind of influence that the United States understands all too well. For Washington, keeping India close isn't merely about friendship or trade. It's about maintaining a bridge that connects ideologies, markets, and global strategies. India's relationships stretch from the corridors of Washington to the streets of Tokyo, from the markets of London to the factories of Southeast Asia. It can speak to both worlds and be understood by both. America knows that if this bridge collapses, so does its reach across Asia. The U.S. has built its global dominance not just on strength, but on connection, and India is that connection. Its voice carries weight in the United Nations, in the global South, and among rising powers who see it as a model of democracy mixed with independence. Losing that influence would mean losing the ability to shape dialogue across continents. At the same time, India's growing ties with nations outside the Western Circle make it unpredictable, and that's what keeps Washington cautious. India isn't confined to one camp. It chooses its partners based on respect and shared interests, not pressure. This independence makes it powerful. America knows that an India free from its orbit can rewrite alliances, open new trade routes, and lead the next wave of global diplomacy. That's why the U.S. sees India not just as a partner, but as the indispensable bridge between the old order and the new one rising before our eyes. The true contest between nations today isn't fought with tanks or troops. It's fought with chips, codes, satellites, and innovation. Technology has become the new weapon of power, and defense has become its shield. This is where the U.S. and India find themselves entangled not in rivalry, but in a complex dance of cooperation and caution. For years, the two nations have shared military intelligence, defense systems, and cyber strategies to counter global threats. American companies have partnered with Indian engineers, defense labs, and startups, seeing the vast potential of India's technical brainpower. But beneath this cooperation lies a growing unease because India is no longer content with simply being a buyer or a junior partner. It's building its own technological empire. India's advancements in space exploration, defense manufacturing, and digital infrastructure have signaled to the world that it intends to stand on its own feet. The launch of indigenous satellites, the creation of homegrown defense systems, and the expansion of its digital governance model have all shown that India isn't waiting for permission to innovate. This growing independence is what makes Washington nervous. America has long been the architect of global technology standards, but India's rise is rewriting that script. The moment India achieves full technological self-reliance, it shifts from dependence to dominance, and that's the turning point the U.S. fears most, because once India no longer needs American systems, weapons, or software, it gains complete control over its destiny. That's not a threat in the traditional sense. It's a transformation of power dynamics. The battlefield has changed. It's invisible, digital, and global. And in this new era, India isn't following anyone's playbook. It's creating its own one innovation, one breakthrough, and one satellite at a time. The relationship between the U.S. and India isn't built on charity or aid. It's built on deep strategic interdependence. Economically, both nations fuel each other's growth in ways that are often invisible to the public eye. American companies have invested billions in India's expanding markets, tapping into its massive consumer base and unmatched pool of skilled professionals. From Silicon Valley's tech giants to Wall Street's financial institutions, India has become a vital engine driving American innovation and profit. But this partnership isn't one-sided. Indian talent powers America's most successful companies, from engineers leading AI projects to doctors, entrepreneurs, and researchers shaping the future of global industries. The relationship is a living exchange of knowledge, labor, and opportunity. For Washington, this connection is more than business, it's survival in a changing world economy. If India withdraws or shifts its economic focus toward alternative alliances, the ripple effects would be massive. American corporations would lose access to one of the fastest growing markets on Earth, and supply chains already strained by global tensions would be further disrupted. The U.S. economy, so heavily dependent on global cooperation, would feel the shock immediately. On the other side, India has learned to use this economic link as leverage. It knows the world needs its workforce, its innovation, and its expanding consumer power. This gives India a quiet but undeniable influence over how the U.S. conducts its trade, invests its capital, and builds its future. The alliance isn't about one helping the other. It's a two-way street where both depend on the flow of ideas, products, and profits. That's why America is so protective of its relationship with India. Losing that alliance wouldn't just hurt its diplomacy, it would shake the foundation of its economic stability. Every alliance in global politics carries two faces, one that smiles for the cameras and one that plays the real game behind closed doors. The relationship between the U.S. and India is no different. Publicly, it is built on friendship, democracy, and shared values, but beneath those warm words lies a strategic contest for influence. For America, keeping India close is not only about cooperation, it's about control of the balance of power. India's growing strength in Asia, its ties with nations like Russia, and its independent foreign policy make it too unpredictable to ignore. The U.S. understands that if India tilts too far away, its ability to counter other global powers weakens dramatically. That is why every visit, every agreement, and every statement from Washington carries a careful undertone persuasion disguised as partnership. Yet India has learned the lessons of history. It knows that in international politics, being praised often comes with hidden expectations. Unlike in the past, India no longer accepts roles assigned by others. It has built its diplomacy on self-respect and mutual benefit. When it deals with America, it does so from a position of choice, not dependence. That independence makes it powerful, and that power makes Washington cautious. The U.S. often talks about defending democracy and cooperation, but it also knows that influence is the real prize. Losing India means losing that influence across Asia and beyond. But what America cannot control is India's growing awareness of its own worth. The more India defines its own path, the harder it becomes to sway or pressure. That's what the U.S. truly fears, not losing India's friendship, but losing its ability to shape India's decisions in a world where influence matters more than loyalty. The world is entering an age where alliances are no longer dictated by power, but by respect. India's relationship with the United States stands at this turning point. In the past, powerful nations often expected loyalty in exchange for support, but that formula no longer works. India's rise has reshaped the rules of diplomacy. It is no longer a nation that follows, it is one that decides. America, once used to leading, now faces a partner that demands equality. This shift is uncomfortable for Washington, but it's necessary for the partnership to survive in the modern era. India's voice now carries weight in shaping the global agenda, from climate and energy to defense and trade, and it expects that voice to be heard, not managed. What makes this new phase remarkable is how balanced it must be. The U.S. can no longer simply dictate terms, and India will not accept a position beneath anyone. Instead, the alliance must evolve into one of shared respect and practical collaboration. America has to recognize that India's strength strengthens the world, not threatens it. The more empowered India becomes, the more stable the global system grows. That is the truth both nations are beginning to realize. In this new global order, partnerships are chosen, not imposed. India wants allies who treat it as a sovereign equal, not as a strategic pawn. The U.S., if it truly wishes to keep India close, must adapt to that reality. It's not about who leads anymore, it's about who listens. The balance of power is no longer tilted in one direction, it's shared. And for the U.S., the choice is clear. Evolve with India or risk watching the future unfold without its influence in one of the most decisive partnerships of our time. The story of power is changing before our eyes. The U.S. once stood alone at the top, but the rise of India has rewritten the script. This alliance is not about dominance anymore, it's about direction. The future belongs to nations that can stand together as equals, not those that try to control the other. India has proven that respect commands more loyalty than fear ever could. The U.S. understands that losing India isn't just losing an ally, it's losing a partner that defines the next chapter of global leadership. The world is watching two great nations, one built on legacy, the other on potential, trying to create a new balance of power based on trust, strength, and vision. And that is the real future: cooperation, not control. So, to every leader, thinker, and dreamer listening, remember this. The world only moves forward when courage replaces comfort. If the U.S. and India can rise above politics and pride, they can shape a century defined not by conflict, but by creation. It's time to build partnerships that inspire progress, not fear it. Time to prove that power is greatest when shared. The world doesn't need more rivals, it needs more visionaries, and it starts with us, with nations, with people, with those who dare to believe that unity is strength. Thank you for listening, for thinking beyond the headlines, and for believing that the future isn't written, it's built. Every great alliance begins with respect. and every great change begins with understanding. Let's keep learning, keep questioning, and keep building a world where strength means lifting others, not overpowering them. Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and never stop believing in what's possible. Thank you.